Hi, I'm Chris from CweltonDesign, and this is another tutorial talking about Lumion 11, specifically the new orthographic projection effect. In a previous video, I covered all of Lumion 11's new features, including ortho, very quickly. I thought it was worth its own video where I can go and explore some of the possibilities, at least that I see as a user. So, as I mentioned before, ortho is something that lots of other softwares already have. I'm starting to see in a different light now, especially when I first heard about the effect. A lot of ideas started coming to my head, things that I couldn't do before because of the limitation of Lumion's camera stuck in perspective. I feel like because Lumion has enabled orthographic views, the combination with so many other stylistic effects and all of the content and the lighting really opens the door to many possibilities worth exploring that I think you'll find very relevant and potentially useful in whatever animation you need to do. I'm an architect. The elevation side of these things I wasn't super excited about, and I don't plan on using it too much. Maybe architects are already excited about that. I do love the top down, and we're going to showcase some examples in there, but I seem to really like just that kind of orthographic angled view. I love that look, and hopefully some of the examples I have to share will kind of showcase how this makes it unique with the addition of this effect. So in this tutorial, I'm going to go over how to utilize the effect in depth in Lumion, and we're going to showcase a couple different examples and a couple ideas that I had when I see this effect and how I plan on using it and have already started to use it.
Okay, so here we are in Lumion 11, and this is one of my past projects, Lot 1, designed by Mabry Custom Homes. One of the last projects I did where I did an interior and full exterior for renderings. I did it several years ago, but I think it'll be a great candidate to showcase the new orthographic effect and what it can do stylistically wise with a home like this, with this type of project. So we're just in build mode right here. We don't have any access to ortho in here. We need to either enter photo or movie mode to access orthographic views through the effect. So let's go ahead and jump in. I have some examples already done we'll take a look at, but let's go ahead and just build an orthographic effect. And here we can go over where to find an effect. So let's go ahead and add effect. At the very top now in Lumion 11, there's this featured tab. It's right there, like it's literally pointing to it. It's going to be pretty hard for you to miss, but in case you're watching this in the future, when there's Lumion 13 or 14 and then the orthographic view is no longer featured, for whatever reason, we're going to find it in camera. So orthographic views right here. Notice that the angle and perspective has not changed yet. There's an enabled toggle that we just got to click, and now we are in ortho. The other change is this really cool interface down here where we now have 3D and 2D. And I think it's kind of weird they call it 2D. I kind of know where they're going with it. They're both 3D, but when they mean 2D, they mean orthographic because there's no perspective. It is essentially a flat model that we're zooming in and out of, but I'm not going to get into that minutia. Click on this and we get access to 3 awesome sliders and an awesome tool. So let's go over those really quickly. First off, Lumion did an incredible job by keeping the exact same controls as we had before. They could have messed this up pretty badly and made it so we got kind of lost and our controls don't work. They work differently, or it's special in ortho mode. No, it's very familiar and fluid, switching between the two of these. So WASD, O for orbit, it all works really well. So in ortho, because we don't have any perspective, there's no angle of view, we have parallel projection going on. We just basically have this zoom slider, which is essentially a crop. It's just cropping in. So that's kind of how that works, and it moves when you scroll in and out right with it. So we can fine tune it in here, we can input values in here as we normally would. pretty straightforward. That's the zoom. Heading, I love this. I love being able to orbit through a heading slider like this. Have that much control over a clean camera movement. Notice it's snapping to every 45 degrees. If we want to go in between, we just hold shift. And if we need to input any specific value, we can do it right here. The next thing is pitch. Pitch is going to move us up and down from 0. We have an elevation view right now, all the way up to 90. So we have a perfect floor plan or site plan view. And it'll also snap to this 35.3, which is the isometric kind of angle, especially if we mix this with like 45 degrees. There's our kind of isometric view. And this is one of my favorite looks. Usually we see this look in design programs and engineering programs. Revit defaults to this. SketchUp can do it, although SketchUp is in perspective by default. But I love the combination of that diagrammatic look, but also the realism in the details from the trees and the objects, from the lighting, and all the other controls we have with effects in Lumion. I just love this. This was the first kind of angle I wanted to play around with, and just look into my projects in these kind of ortho views. So the last thing is really super helpful that Lumion added, which is align camera with surface. In this case, my project is perfectly, so 0 degrees on here. There's going to be projects that are skewed a little bit. So although we can eyeball it through heading, Lumion has given us a tool to make this a lot easier to capture perfect elevations. So when you hold the right click button, we get that middle cursor as well as the rule of third grid popping up right there. So wherever that cursor is at, that's the surface it's going to start aligning to. When we hover over it, we'll see that arrow aligning camera with surface. That's indicating where we want to align the camera. So if I want to align it on this wall right here, we got to line up that cursor, and there it is. It's visually showing where it's going to move the camera. If I move it to this stair tower, you'll see it go from this side, then to that side, and we can either just click on it or hit F, and we'll automatically align our camera to that. Here's a good example right here. We have a diagonal wall happening right here, so if we want to capture a perfect elevation from there, bam, there we go. Now you might be noticing a problem with my elevation right now. I wouldn't turn that into my client or my professor. There's definitely some major issues. Lumion has given us some tools to work around this with. In the effect right here, the slider for near clip is going to move a clip plane from the camera forward, and the far clip is a clip plane from the far distant towards us. So in this case, we want to slide that just ever slightly to reveal our project. And if we want to get rid of the background trees, we slide the far clip back to expose just our building. It will cut through the building too, of course. So I wouldn't call that perfect, but that's kind of the idea. So a word of warning on these clip planes, they're super awesome, but you got to be careful because they might, when they cut through the trees, you know, if you're not careful, you'll have leaves just floating here. So if you absolutely need to and you can't get the right angle or it's cutting too far, you might just need to set some trees onto a layer and hide them in this view. But for the most part, it's worked out pretty well for me. It all depends on your project. Notice the big trees in the background. I scale up my trees in the distance to kind of hide the horizon line as good as I can without having too many trees. So I scale them up. I just noticed that in ortho, they start to look a little ridiculous. So I can either just pull it back this far and have more regular looking trees or get rid of trees altogether. You will notice that I can pull the clip plane all the way back, but if I go far enough away, Lumion does have this clip right here. So there are some limitations. Larger projects might have some issues there, but again, you could be from right out here and you can zoom in without any real cost to quality at all. So they've left that pretty flexible. Couple things, we can set a fill color that will just completely replace the background with whatever color we want. It's set to white, black, and all the other color palettes that we can get in here. Maybe you can use a nice blue. Nice addition to be able to clean things up and keep things diagrammatic. But one of the problems I'm having with this effect for elevations in Lumion is I don't know exactly where to put it. Like a part of me wants to put it at the bottom of the frame right here, and we have all this sky. But if you notice, the real sky is kind of cut out right here. Fortunately, I have 2 suns. Fortunately, I have a 2-story house, but if this were a 1-story house, you probably would start to see this kind of non-detailed gray in the real skies. So part of me thinks it should go right here, but then we have to just crop afterwards. We could set a clip plane on reverse to just clean up all this stuff below the ground we don't want to see. If your building works out, you can do it this way. It's just something to be aware of. So let's jump into a couple little example styles I was playing around with. Again, this is what I was excited about when I thought about the potential of this effect, is what it could do in combination with all the non-photorealistic diagrammatic like effects that Lumion has. So this is the blueprint effect. Yeah, it's okay. I did really like this one. I just made this one up for this tutorial, and I really like it. It's a combination of the cartoon effect, the exposure effect, because it comes in pretty dark, so I overexpose it, and a little bit of color correction because it was a little dull. Here's another one with sketch effect in cartoon, and it's with styrofoam in outlines. And I really like this. This is very similar to the other cartoon effect, but I've used a cut plane to cut the walls down. Not with Ortho. I'm using a specific cut plane in Lumion to control this cut. And we're seeing inside, and it just totally reminds me of The Sims. And I don't know, you can see the layout, you can see the little kitchen furniture, we could put people in here. I just happen to really like that. It's just not the same in perspective. Not the same at all. Here's kind of an example of a site plan. Something that tags along really well with Ortho is the handheld camera effect. We can change angle here to fit with our 16:9 aspect ratio that Lumion locks us to. This is a longer site, so I just combined Ortho with this angle effect. And again, we just get nice, quick fine-tune control of the distance here as well. It works really well in animation as well. Here's just kind of an example of a floor plan. I didn't really prepare it that much. There's definitely some lighting things I could be doing, but it's definitely worth bringing up the topic. I have had clients who have asked me to do kind of 3D rendered floor plans, and I've been able to do it in Lumion, but it's been difficult because I don't have true ortho. I can't quite align things up perfectly, and I had to do a lot of faking and drawing over thick walls, kind of like you're seeing. So I'm excited for this because now I can create true floor plans. And here's just another outlines effect on top of styrofoam to turn everything white. Now I'll have to say there's definitely a limitation in Lumion where the outline is not quite grabbing the profile of thinner walls or glazing, so we're not getting a real outline like I would like, but we're getting close. It's a nice style. And again, just different ideas for an elevation. There's just lots of possibilities. So let's move on to movie mode. It's basically the same idea with a little twist. I have to just create a dummy keyframe here. I don't need to tweak any of this or even where my camera is, because we're gonna adjust that later anyway. You'll see. So just create a dummy little clip right here so we can add the effect. And notice how it's exactly the same except for this edit camera button we have now, because we don't have any interface here like we did in photo mode. We click on this and there's that interface. So when you go ahead and click to 2D and change to whatever orthographic angle we want to start with. Let's just go ahead and create this one right here, and I'll just create another one like right here, and there we have an animated ortho animation. Something worth covering too is, because we have these awesome sliders here, we can get some really cool 360 orbits in a way like cleaner than we could ever really do before. So I'm going to set this to isometric, center the building essentially, and just going to go ahead and every 45 degrees create a keyframe. But because we have that precision in that slider for heading, we can get nice even spacing of our camera keyframes, which is required to get like real smooth orbits. Something I still have a difficult time in Lumion. If we wanted to make this even better, combine it with the handheld camera effect and hit look at fixed point, it's just gonna default to the fixed point we had before. Just keep things nice and clean, and we can keyframe focal length if we wanted to. So those work really well together. So I have a sample clip right here showcasing another idea. So something I might not have mentioned, when we move this near clip plane in, so if we're looking top down, we can get like a floor plan look with just moving the near clip plane. Now, I don't happen to like it because when you go to build with effects to tweak things in here, the roof is actually still there. So I actually have a clip plane modeled or set in Lumion on a layer to do it. But because we can animate this clip plane, we can achieve an animation effect like this. So then the roof comes back on as we're looking outside again. This looks like just another orbit that I had set up, similar idea but stylized. And this one, I had the clip plane just pull back to kind of reveal the house in a unique way as the sunset is happening. I don't know, it was just kind of a fun idea. There's just so many other possibilities out there right now. With that, I figured I'd just talk about some other ideas I had that I wanted to showcase for this video. I had several other projects I wanted to jump in and see how ortho would look on them. And so I've rendered them out and we can talk about them really quick, and so you can see some of the thoughts that were going through my head when I first heard about this effect and what I thought I could achieve and how it would add value to the type of animation that I do. This example right here, there's bamboo panels to build these, affordable, sustainable housing units in Africa I'm working with a company on. So the ortho effect goes perfect with like the animated phasing. So I put in the panels so the animated phasing effect, and I put it into that more diagrammatic look with ortho. Here's another example where I really like when we do elevation animations with the cars going right in front of the camera and people walking right there. Lumion did a really good job in their release trailer too. And then the idea of doing a really clean orbit and revealing from kind of realistic to a schematic version of the building. Imagine there's After Effects callouts going in there to showcase different design elements or different statistics on there. Here's an example of just some traffic in the corner in the new example scene that I thought looked pretty cool. And just a couple projects that I had done in the past that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to get an ortho shot of them to see how they would look, and some turned out really cool. So with that, I hope I was able to showcase some cool ideas that I had in mind I wanted to put some time into before creating this video. And for those looking to upgrade to 11 from 10 or 9, if this is the kind of stuff you think would really add value to what you're doing, I definitely say go for it, because this is big. And if it's not, it's just a really cool style and effect that we have access to now, and having our toolkit of options and creativity for whatever clients can throw at us in the future.
Well, thank you for watching the tutorial. I hope maybe saw it in kind of a special light that I've been starting to see it. I think it's a really cool new addition that can easily be overlooked, and limitations have been lifted and the possibilities have been opened up to some really unique shots, especially diagrammatic shots, and just different ways of capturing an image that we just were not enabled before. So with that, I have more tutorials coming out. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and until next time, please leave any questions in the comments. I will get to them, I promise. Until next time.